168a Kuf Sam Ches Amar Aleph at the Mishnah. Misha Nimchak Shtar Chovo, someone who has a shtar Chov, meaning says he owes somebody money. That gets erased. What do you do now? Your document got erased. What should you do? The following. My middle of Eidim, go get witnesses. Ubalifnei Bezdin, come in front of a court, and they'll do for you, va'osin lo kiyum. They'll re-establish the shtar for you. So, what are they going to do? They're going to say the following. Ish ploni ben ploni, this person, the son of this person, nimchak shtaro biyom ploni, his document got erased on this and this day. Turning the page. Uploni and ploni edav, and these are his witnesses, and therefore the court will they'll write the soul up in a new document, and therefore you will be good to go. So now, Taner Rabbanan, Ezik Kiyuma, how exactly is this done? So I guess that was like a general version. Yeah. So now, Taner Rabbanan, the Brisa expounds a little bit. Ezu Kiyuma, how are they gonna Mekayim, how are they gonna validate such a document? So they say the following. The court is writing this. B'mosif tlata havina anu, ploni uploni uploni. The three of us were there, the three judges, ploni, ploni, uploni. Not that that's their name, but yeah. So, and what happened? Hotzi ploni ben ploni took out a document, shtar machuk lefanenu, in a raised document in front of us, biyom ploni on so and so day, uploni edav, and ploni. Gotta get some last names here. Ploni and Ploni were the witnesses. Okay. Right. Exactly. So the imkasuv bo huskaknu leidusam shel edim, and if it says there huskaknu leidusam shel edim, we needed a testimony of witnesses. V'nimtzeis edusan mechuvenis, and it turns out that the testimony was aligned with the current testimony. So then, gova ve'eno tzarich lahavi raya. So the Bezdin investigated the witnesses, and if they confirmed that these witnesses that are signing now were the ones that signed earlier, they were there at the time of the loan, then you're in business and you can go collect. However, the ivlav, and if not, then tzarich lahavi raya. Then you have to go and bring a proof. If the witnesses are not the same ones that were there earlier, so then you have to go bring a proof. It's not going to help you. So either you need the witnesses that were there before. Right now the Bezdin investigates the witnesses, and therefore, and then they confirm these were the witnesses, and therefore they validate the document. If you can't do that, then you have to go bring a proof before you collect money. Okay. Now, finish with that. Other halachas about other rules and laws about documents. If it's nikra, ripped, it's pasul. If it's niskara, kosher. What's the difference between nikra and niskara? One's in the reflexive. One's if it's ripped, meaning somebody rips it, then it's invalid. If it's niskara, it rips on its own, it's valid. Now we're going to say, what does it mean to rip it? So let's see. So, okay, before we get there, but nimchak, if it gets erased, onetashtish, a little smudged out, I think, blotted out. Strained?
Stained.
Oh, stained. Stained. Right, it has like a little blot on it or something. So now, what do you do then? So imri shumo nicker, if the impression, right, of the document is still there, you can still see the outline of the letters. Sometimes when you have like write with a pencil, right, and then when your kids erase it, they don't do such a good job. And you still see the whole letter there. It's a little lighter. So imri shumo nicker, kosher. That's going to be a good document. So now, heichi dami nikra, heichi dami niskara. What is ripped and what is ripped on its own? Amar Yehuda, nikra means crush shel bezdin. It's a rip of the bezdin. Niskara is a crush eino shel bezdin. So nikra means something that bezdin rip. They have a certain rip that you can identify a bezdin rip. What is that? Heichidami karashal bezdin. What's a rip of the bezdin? Amr Yehuda, makom edim. If they rip through 3 parts of the document, the place where the witness is signed, makom azman, the date of the document, makom hatorif. Torif is the essential part of the document, has the details. So then that's how you know. Abai Amar, another way to know is Shasi ve'erev. Literally, that's usually means vertical and horizontal. So basically a crisscross, like an X. So that would be a special rip that Bezdin does in the form of an X, that you'll know this is their rip. So sometimes they have to rip up a document, right? If you go and you have a document saying that someone owes you money, and now they paid you or whatever. So or other examples, could be they have to be ripped up. You don't want to keep them around. Okay, so now a story about this. Hanu Arivai, so Arabs causing trouble back then. The Asal Pumpadisa, they came to a town in Bavel called Pumpadisa. And what happened? The Havuka Ansia Rasa the Inshi. So they would go and force people to give up their land and their documents. So they'd go to people's lands and give me your land and give me your document that says that you purchased this land. So they would force them to do that. Asu Marusayu Lakamede Abaye. Abaye seems to be always the main character when it comes to, I think he was a scribe. So Abaye deals a lot with shtaros. So they came, the owners, the Marusayu, the owners came to Abaye and they said, so Amrulo, what is that? They said to him, Lexi Mar Shtare, the Lichtablan Mar Shtara Achrina Aleha. So now people, before they heard about this happening, before the Arabs came to their field and did this to them, they went to Abaye. They said, listen, look at our document now, duplicate it, give us 2 documents. The Arabs will come take the field. They'll take one of our documents. We'll have a backup. Exactly. And Abaye said, no, can't do. If they take away one, we'll have another one here. Biyadan, in our hands. So Amr Lahu, he said to them, my Abba, what can I do? Lahu, you have to go. I can't do this for you. Why not? The Amar Rav Safra said, and it's going to be the main discussion in the next few days, Ein Kosvin Shnei Shtaros al Sada Achas. You're not allowed to write 2 documents for one field. You can't do it. So meaning a buyer who buys a field from a seller, he can't have 2 documents saying he purchased the field from the seller. Okay, now let's bear with me over here. Why not? Dilma, a lot of pronouns here. So Dilma Tarif. So now maybe I believe the creditor is going to come and take away the land from the seller. The creditor of the buyer, he's owed money. So he's going to go to the seller and take away that land, right? So Reuben is owed money, and the guy's not paying up. So it's payday, and now Reuben's going to go to Shimon's buyers, and he's going to say, hey, give me the land. I have a document saying that the guy owes me money. So Dilma Tarif. So now the land was taken away. The creditor goes to the buyers to the seller. Yeah, to the seller, and then and it's going to take away the land. You had no right to sell this land. So sorry, right? 1 second. Right, the creditor of the seller. The creditor of the seller is going to go. The seller owes the creditor money, and he's going to go to the seller, and he's going to say, and he's going to go and take away his land. The hadar tarif. I'm getting my pronouns confused. 1 second. So 1 second. You have a buyer, right? The rule is you can't give a buyer 2 documents, right? You can't give a buyer 2 documents. So Reuben buys land from Shimon. you're not allowed to write for Reuven 2 documents saying he bought land from Shimon. Why not? What's going to happen? The creditor of the seller is going to go and is going to collect the land from the buyer, right? He's going to tell the seller, you have no right to sell the land. He's going to go to the buyer and collect the land. Now the buyer is going to go back to the seller and want his money back, right? So he's going to go and collect. If you have 2 documents, he's going to collect twice. So 1 second. So it's 1 second. So okay, so let's get the clip. The buyer has 2 documents, right? They both say he bought land from Shimon. Now, Shimon goes, his creditor goes and collects the land from Reuven. Okay, so now Reuven goes. He's the buyer, and he goes and collects land from the seller. Now, he can go and collect, right? Let's say the seller has no money to give to him. So what do? You go to other people that purchased land from this seller and collect from them. So you'll go to one guy, and then you'll give him this document saying that right. So you're going to go to. So the buyer has 2 documents, each saying that Reuven owes them money. Reuven owes Reuven bought land from Shimon. He has 2 documents saying the same thing, right? They got duplicated. Now what's going to happen? The creditor is going to go to Shimon, is going to go to Reuven. The creditor of the seller of Shimon, the seller, is going to go to Reuven, the buyer, and he's going to collect the land. The seller owes him money. The seller can't pay up. He's going to go to Reuven and collect the land. Good. Now, Reuven has to get reimbursed. So he goes to the sellers, the other purchasers. The seller sold a lot of property to a Levi and Yehuda. So what's going to happen? So he goes to Levi and he says, I need to collect your land from you because how'd you get the land? Oh, Shimon sold it to you? Well, Shimon owed me money. So now I'm going to, why does he owe me money? Because I bought a land from him that ended up getting collected. So now he's going to give Levi the document saying he bought land from Shimon on this and this day. Then he's going to go to Yehuda and say, I'm sorry, I have to take your land from you. So why are you taking my land from me? He said, how'd you get it? You got it from Shimon? Listen, I bought land from Shimon and that got taken away from me. So you're going to have this document saying that Reuven bought land from Shimon. You're going to have this go into Levi's hands and into Yehuda's hands. Now they're both going to come to Shimon to collect from Shimon and get their money back. Yeah. So right after the hard part. So
was under 5. I had work.
So that's why you can't write 2 shtaros, to avoid this whole thing that basically a buyer who buys from a seller, in the event that the seller owes money and it's collected from the buyer, and the buyer goes to collect back from the seller, that the seller doesn't lose out. So basically, we're protecting the seller. We're protecting the seller by not having him, have to lose money twice. Therefore, Abaye said, I can't write you a backup document. Yeah, so Dilma Tarif, it'll get collected. V'hadar Tarif, Havu, Qatar delay. So so therefore we don't do this whole thing. So, sorry. V'hadar Tarif. It'll be collected and then collected back twice, and therefore we don't do it. Now, these people were pushing Abaye. They said, give us a second star. Havu Qatar delay. They kept pressuring him. Said, we need a second document. Our land's about to get stolen. So Abaye is going to pull sort of a trick on them. Amar le Safre, Abaye tells the Sofer to do the following. Zil kasav lehu, write the following document. Hu alam chak, write the actual text of the document on erased parchment. The Eidav al hanir, and the witnesses are going to sign on a clean slate. So that we say is possible. That we had already, because then you can just erase, make something up, and you already have their signatures. That's an invalid document. And Abaye was hoping that they're not going to cop this whole trick, and therefore he'll get them off their backs. Yeah, Rabbinics 101: how to get some people to stop putting pressure on you. Know how to pull the tricks. So now, Amar Le Rav Acha. Why are we bringing this all in for the following? Amar Le Rav Acha Barman Yomi Abaye. They said, hold on, but you want to give them an invalid document. Jared, we're about 7 lines from 168b from the bottom. So he says, Abai, you want to give them an invalid document? Vidilma Rishuma Nicker. We just told us earlier that an erased document is fine if you can still notice the letters. So what do you want to do, Abai? You want to write a document and then erase it, right? And then rewrite it and then have the Adam sign on the clean part. But if the Rishumo is Nicker, if the impression is still visible, then the document is going to be kosher. And therefore, you failed your Rabbinics 101 class. It's not going to be good. Vitanya nimchak o netashdesh im rishumo nicker kosher. If the impression is there, it's still good. So Abai said, listen, like, so who do you think you're talking to? You're talking to me. Amar le mi kamina shtar ma'alia. I'm not writing a full document and then erasing it. I'm writing aleph beis and then erasing it. So the impression of a bunch of aleph beis on a piece of paper is fine. It's still going to be an invalid document. Aleph beis ba'alma kamina. I'm not writing. I just need some kind of scribbles to erase. I'm not writing the actual text of the document. Therefore, I know what I'm doing, and this is how I get people to stop pressuring me. And I'm happy to teach you more tricks if you ask nicely. Yeah, no, that part that doesn't say. So okay, okay. Here comes the harder part of today. So Jared, we need your thinking brain. Yeah, maybe have a few more sips or something. Yeah. So well, it's not gonna help me. So Tana Rabbanan. So Hareshaba, a guy comes and says, "Va'amar Avid Shtar Chovi." I lost my document. It says that Reuben owes me money. I don't know what happened to it. It got lost. So now, Afal Pisha Amru Edim Anu Kasana V'Chasana V'Nasanu. Witnesses come and say and said, we are the witnesses that wrote, signed, and gave this document to this lender, to Reuven. So, Ein Kosin Lavas a Shtar. We're still not going to write the guy a new shtar. When are we not going to write the guy a new shtar? When it comes to a loan document, we're not going to do it. It's too risky. You're going to rewrite documents and the guy's going to lose that money. We can't do that. However, when it comes to sale documents, then we are going to rewrite. If you lost your sale document saying, I bought land from Shimon, I lost the document. If witnesses come and say they were there, they signed and everything, we'll rewrite it for you, except chutz min achrayas shebo. We're not going to write it with achrayas, meaning we're not going to allow you to go and collect from the seller. So generally, if someone buys something, right, Reuven buys from Shimon land, Shimon's creditors come and they say, listen, Shimon, you owed us money, and I'm sorry you sold this land, but when you sold that land, you owed us money. Oh, you can't pay me now? Okay, 1 second. Reuven, field is mine. They're going to go take Reuven's field from him. So what's Reuven going to do? He's going to go back to Shimon. Okay, now you got to pay me money. I bought a field with achrayas, with an insurance policy. So now my purchase was with insurance policy, so you owe me the money. Oh, you can't pay me? Back to the other people you sold to, I'm going to collect from them. So we're going to rewrite a document for Reuven, the buyer, but it's not going to be with an insurance policy. That much we're not going to do. Yeah, okay, we'll see. We'll see more about that either today or tomorrow. But that's the rule. Now, on the next page, Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer, Af shtare mekach umemkar ein kosmin. No, we're not writing for you any kind of document. We're not writing for you any document, not a loan document and not a sale document. Okay, so now Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, I think we're going to see more about him tomorrow, but V'chein haya, why does he say this? Or similarly, he holds the following. V'chein haya Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel Omer. He had the following very interesting, a little bit hard to understand, halacha. Hanosin matana lechavero. I give you a present. Okay. And I wrote up a document. I gifted Mr. Steiber, so-and-so, brand new car on whatever it was a few weeks ago, one car family, and that's that, right? So, and we write up a document. Now, let's say you give me back that document. So you keep the car, but you give back the document. Says Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, what happens? If you give back the document, then the matana goes back to, the present goes back to. So Hanoz matana chaver v'hitzos ashtar, chazar matanaso. The present goes back also. Why this is true? So we're going to see later. But what you see is that Rabbi Shimon Gamliel does not allow, documents to be. You see that a document is something which is if you return the document, so then you return the present. So too. So too in our case by a buyer and a seller. What's going to happen is that if the buyer would give back the document to the seller, so then the whole sale is going to be retracted also. So since he holds, for some reason, we have to see more about this, why the mere transfers of a document, makes the sale go back too. But since he holds that, therefore, we're not going to write a document for the buyer because if he ever gives it back to the seller, the document, then the whole thing is going to go out the window. Okay, we have to see. Right. Right. So it says that according to him, if someone buys a field, so then he can just return the field by just giving back the document. So therefore, if someone claims to have lost the document, we don't write another one for him, because like this, we don't want to. If someone said I lost the document, we're not going to write him another one, because maybe he didn't lose a document, maybe he gave it back to the seller at some point, and if he gave it back to the seller, then the whole purchase goes back to the seller also. So therefore, we might, by writing him a new document, we might be actually giving him something which is that doesn't really belong to him. The Chachamim hold the Chacham Omrei Matanos Kayamas because they don't have this whole novelty of giving a document is also a transfer of the property. Therefore, we don't have this. We don't have this worry. Okay. Amar Mar. Okay, back to this brisa of rewriting documents for sales and not for loans. And I guess here's where the fun starts. It wasn't fun until now. So Amar Mar chutz me'achraya shebo. Okay, you do not rewrite a sale document to the buyer with the insurance policy. That you don't do because we are worried that well, let's see why. Okay, my time. What's the reason that we don't write him? We write him a document, but now with an insurance policy. Okay, Amar of Safra, we had this a few minutes ago. We don't write two documents on one field. Why? Dilma Azil Balchov, the creditor of the seller, might come. He might come. Tarifle Lahai, he's going to go and he's going to take the buyer's field. He's going to take the buyer's field. Okay, so now he's going to take the buyer's field. The Ozil High. Now, what do you want to do? The guy claims he lost his star. Right? This buyer's saying, "Oh, I lost a star." You're going to rewrite him a new star, a second star for this field, a second document. What's going to happen? The Ozil High. The buyer's going to go umapik chad. He's going to go and pull out a document. So now the buyer is going to get reimbursed from the seller's properties. He's going to go and pull out a document saying, "Listen, I bought a field from the seller. It has an insurance policy on it. So you guys owe me money." And he's going to give them this document so they can go back to the seller and collect. And he's going to go and collect. Yeah. Okay, so now, fine. So that's that. Now, here's the trickery part. So yeah. So now, what are we worried about? This guy lost his document. So we're worried if we give him a second document, what he's going to do is he's going to go and somehow pull a trick with the Baal Chov. Okay, so how's he going to do that? 1 second. So let's see. The Amar Leila Baal Chov. He's going to tell the Baal Chov. So the buyer is now speaking to the field that he's collecting, and he tells them, "Shofli the Ekumba." So meaning stay quiet. I tripped up. So yeah. So what's going to happen? So the guy, someone's going to come and collect the buyer's field, the creditor, the Baal Chov of the seller, and then the buyer is going to go and he's going to go to to go to the other purchasers of the seller and collect their fields, and then the buyer is going to tell the creditor, meaning I think the guy coming to collect his field from him, he's going to say, "Shofli de ekumle." Shof means quiet, so be quiet. Leave me, leave me. Don't collect this field for me for a few years. Why? So that I can establish a 3-year chazak on it again, and then you should come and take this field away from me, and then I can go and pull out my other document and go and collect fields back. So once again, what's happening over here? We don't allow the guy to have 2 documents. Why? So the buyer is Reuven. He bought land from Shimon. Now what happens is that Shimon's creditors come and they take the field back from Reuven. And now what's going to happen? So Reuven's going to go to get his money back from the other purchasers that bought land from Shimon. Now, his document is saying, I bought land from Shimon with insurance. So now, if he gives that document over to one of those purchasers, they can come back to Shimon, their seller, and collect from him. So, okay, so let's say we're worried about he's going to do it once. He'll do it once, and then he'll do it once and get his money back. Now he's going to tell the creditor. He said basically, this field that you just collected from me, leave it by me. Let me work on it for 3 years, so I can establish another chazaka for yourself. So instead of taking it home, let me use it for a few years. Then people are going to forget that you took the field from me, that it's your field. They'll think it's my field. Then come and take it again from me. And then I'm going to go and collect and get reimbursed again from the other purchasers. So in that way, this buyer can get a double compensation. He can get paid twice. That's why we don't let him have two shtaros. Okay. So now the Gemara says, what's the problem? The Gemara says, what's the problem? The kavan de karina l'shtara de molve b'mai hadar tarifle. The Bezdin's going to go and rip up the document of the creditor's loan document. So when the guy goes and takes the buyer's field, so this buyer who bought land from Shimon, he's going to go and collect the field. Now, what happens to the loan document? It's torn up, right? So the document is torn up. So if the document is torn up, so how is this guy going to come and collect the field the second time from the buyer? So meaning this buyer, Reuven, our buyer, so Shimon's creditors come and say Shimon owes us money. He hasn't paid us back yet. They're going to come to Reuven and collect the field. But that document that says, that the creditors are saying Shimon owes me money, once he goes and has not got paid back yet and goes and collects, then that document gets ripped up, right? So that this guy's out of the picture now. How is he going to come again to collect Reuven's field. So Reuven is the purchaser, Shimon is the seller, Levi's the creditor, Shimon's creditor. So Levi's owed money from Shimon. So he goes to Reuven and collects the field. That only happens once. It can't happen twice because the original loan document gets torn up. So this whole shtick is not going to work. Reuben's going to tell the guy, like, keep the field by me and then collect it again. What do you mean collect it again? You don't have any way to collect it again. So it's not going to work. Okay, so now.
Forget to tear it up.
Oh, that's true. So now, maybe you'll say, like, Jules V'chitem and Deloy Karana, maybe where the court didn't tear it up. So what's going to happen? And here it gets, yeah. The Ha'amar of Nachman, okay. We'll read the words and then we'll go back to explain. Kol tirfa deloy kasev bei, kol tirfa deloy kasev bei, karana l'shtari demava lav tirfahu. The kol adrachta deloy kasev bei, karana l'tirfa lav adrachtahu. The kol shuma deloy kasev bei, karana l'adrachta lav shumahi. So now, so there's a lot of details here. There's a whole bunch of documents that are written when you go to collect land. I don't know, for simplicity's sake, I'm gonna summarize this. So the first is a loan document, right? You have a loan document saying Reuven owes me money. Document number one. Now what happens? The guy can't pay you. So you go to the court, they tear up your loan document, and they give you a collection warrant. They give you another document saying you can go and collect. That's called a tirfa. It would be torifis to collect. So you can go and literally eat up to take up his property. Mm-hmm. They give you a collector's warrant. So now what happens? This gives the person the right to collect from somebody. When the guy goes with this new document and he finds a land that he could collect from, so now what happens? Goes back to the court, they take the collection document, the tirfa, and they rip it up. And they issue him something called a drachta. A drachta is a repossession document. It's another document that says you have now repossessed land from somebody. So you have the loan document. Then you have a document giving you a right to collect from your borrower. And then when you found land that the borrower has sold in the interim or whatever it was, you get another document that says that you can now repossess that land, the repossession document. That's called an adrachta. And now the final one is when you actually take possession of the property, the court rips up this repossession document and gives you something called a shuma, a certificate of appraisal, right? What does that do? It tells you exactly how much the land is worth and how much debt was paid off. So you have four documents. You have the loan document, you have the right to collect document, you have the repossession document, and then you have the actual appraisal document. Those are four documents. So the Gemara says, you can't tell me he didn't rip up the document. That can't be. Why? Because any kol tirfa, any collection document. One is the loan document. Two is the collection document, the tirfa. Any tirfa which doesn't say on it, I ripped up the original loan document, is not a good repossession document. The kol adrachta, document number 3, the repossession document, that once you found the land you want to collect, you have a repossession document. Any repossession document that doesn't say on it that you ripped up the collection document is not a good repossession document. And now the kol shuma, any final appraisal document, if you say exactly how much land is worth and how much of the debt you're paying off, that deloy kasabei karana l'adrachta lav shumahi. That's not a good document. So basically, you can't get to step 2 without passing step 1, right? You can't get to the next level. The way you do it is you have to write that you've torn up the previous document. So therefore, we're back to square one. How do we get to our case where the buyer Reuven and Shimon's creditor are going to pull this trick together? That's going to involve the creditor coming again and collecting from Reuven. But the original, he can't collect anything without it being written that the original loan document has not been ripped up. If the original loan document is ripped up, how is he ever going to collect again from Reuven? He's stuck. So the trickster got tricked. Meaning there's no way, right? So what are we worried about? Okay. Phew. So now, lo tzricha, we need it for the following case. Dikaasi mikoach avase. So, how did I think it's Ruvain get field that this creditor wants? He must have gotten the field from his father, meaning what's the question? How is the creditor of Shimon going to come and collect field and collect from Ruvain? He's going to claim that the field you own is my father's. He's going to go bring proofs that Ruvain's field actually belongs to this guy Levi, Shimon's creditor. It was actually his father's, and therefore it doesn't belong to you. And therefore he's going to collect field from Ruvain. Once he collects a field from Ruvain, if we would give Ruvain another purchase document, we would rewrite for Ruvain a purchase document that he bought land from Shimon, then we're going to be back in trouble again, because now he's going to be able to go to those other buyers and collect from them. So in the event that this Levi, Shimon's creditor, is going to come and get land from Reuben the buyer by saying it belonged to his father, so then what's going to happen? That's the case where the guy could take Reuben's field twice. The first field he takes from Reuben is because it had a loan document saying, Shimon owed Levi money. He hadn't paid up. So Levi's going to go to Reuben and collect the field. And even if they rip up that document, what's going to happen though? Levi might say that it actually belonged to my father, and therefore, oh, sorry, not Reuben. Shimon, the seller. Levi's a creditor of Shimon. Why? Because he's going to say that the land that Shimon sold to Reuben was actually stolen. That's the way we're going to do it. So the first case is regular loan. Shimon owes me money. Shimon owes Levi money. He didn't pay back. Levi goes to Reuben. He collects Reuben's land. Then Reuben's going to go back to Shimon's buyers and get the land back. Fine. Now, we say you can't write Reuben two documents for the same purchase. Why not? Well, because he might collect twice. We say he can't collect twice because Levi, right? He can't tell Levi just collect for me twice and then we'll pull the shtick together. Because how is Levi going to collect Reuben's land twice? The first time was a loan document. Once he collected, even before he collects, that gets ripped up. Done. Okay, but how else are Levi and Reuben going to have any relationship with each other? Like this. Levi originally was a creditor of Shimon, right? Because Shimon borrowed money from him and didn't pay back. So Levi goes to Shimon's buyers and collects from them. What if the fields that Shimon sold to Reuben, Levi now claims, were stolen? Those fields you, Shimon, sold, they're not yours, they're my father's. And he proves it. So that's another way how Levi can go to Reuben and collect. Once Levi can go to Reuben to collect, and Reuben will tell him, listen, don't use the field. Let me sit on it for 4 or 5 years. And therefore, they're going to think it's mine. And therefore, you can repossess it again. And therefore, I'll go back with my 2 shtaros and collect. Yeah. Told you it's going to be fun. You didn't believe me. Okay. So fine. So that's that. So now, says the Gemara, basically, I have a much simpler idea for you. It'll take away the fun, but a simpler idea. So what's that idea? So Amr le Rav Acha midifti le Ravina, v'lama le lemeimar le lebal chov shofli b'haya ara ve'ekamba. Why are we worried that the purchaser Reuven is going to tell the Shimon's creditor, the Baal Chov, just keep quiet, let me be here for a few years, and then repossess the land from me? And therefore, we're not going to be able to give Reuven a second document. So, Tepukle, the Kavan the Naket Trey Shtari, Tarif the Hadar Tarif. Right, Tepukle, the Kavan the Naket Trey Shtari. Since his buyer has 2 documents, Tarif Hadar Tarif. 1 second. So what? Instead of saying this whole thing, why don't you be quiet for a few years? We have a much simpler way. What should it be? Since the buyer has two documents, oh, so he'll go to two different people, right? Meaning, who says going to the same guy? Maybe he'll go to two different people, and if he goes to two different people, so then, right, he'll just go to he'll go to Levi and he'll go to Yehuda, and therefore that's enough of a reason for us to not give him two documents, even without being worried he's going to pull this whole trick. So typically the cave in the Naka Trey Shtari Tarif Hadar Tarif. So then we say no, because Im Kain Nafishi Aleha Bali Dinim. He's gonna have too many Bali Din, too many litigants, too many people that he's being involved with, and we're gonna realize it's fraud. It's gonna be too fishy. It's gonna be too fishy. He's going to so many different people to collect land. Right. It says here that since both cases are going to be at the same time, then the two purchasers will learn of each other's losses. Right? Word's going to get out that this guy Reuben just collected from Levi and Yehuda. They're going to talk, and they're going to realize that really it was the same. It was for the same purchase. He just happened to have two documents, and therefore they're going to realize that. So that's why that's not going to work, and therefore the real reason is because we're worried about him doing this whole thing with the original creditor. Okay. Fine, a new thing a little bit. Guess we'll start it. We'll start it. So v'lichtov lahai shtara ma'alya, v'lichtov tavra le-mocher. So meaning, we don't let you write two shtaros. Why don't you just write a guy the shtar, and then write a receipt for the seller? So if you write a receipt for the seller, and the receipt should say the following: v'lichtov tavra le-mocher, and it should say the following: Kol shtare devkon al arada psulin lebar mendepok bezmana. Lebar mendepok bezmana da. Right? What's the problem? Give the seller a receipt and say all documents that are going to come out about this field are all invalid except for that one document that was written back then. And therefore, if you have a second document written now on the same field, so then it's not going to go. And therefore you always protect the seller. He has a receipt that says, so if they're going to come with a purchase document saying you sold land that you weren't allowed to sell, now you owe us money, they'll say, no, it's only land that was sold back in January. Anything in this purchase that's going to be dated after January is an invalid document, and it'll be signed and stamped by the court. If it's signed and stamped by the court, so then that should prevent this whole thing. Says the Gemara, Amru Rabbanan Kameder of Papa, the Amrila Kameder of Ashi. They said this in front of Rav Papa, and some say in front of Rav Ashi. Dosameres Ein Kosvin Shover. We'll continue this tomorrow. We don't write receipts. We'll see why and what and how.